Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Pro Carry Trucker. Hope the audio is okay on this because I'm actually, as you can see, I've got my head, well you can't see I've got my head mount on, but I've got the Wasp Cam connected to my phone, and just gonna try to do a video here. I want to get back into the history videos. I really miss doing those. I ain't really had time to do them. I'm here in Kansas City, not working today, got the day off, and everything's locked down. I'd planned on going to the gun show today, but of course that's canceled. So, up to the Intolerable Acts on the Revolutionary War. Like I said, I'm so far behind on doing these, it ain't funny. I just ain't been able to get any done. But, of course, all my information is at home that I have printed out for the Intolerable Acts. The motel I'm in is actually a new motel. It's only been open since November. And they don't have their computers for their business center in yet. But I did get the desk person to print out a little bit. It's basically just an overview on the Intolerable Acts. So what I want to do is I want to go through the videos I've done up to this point, and then I just want to go over the overview on the Intolerable Acts, and then I'll do, once I get home and get my what I have printed at home out, I will break down the Intolerable Acts and do individual videos on those. But I really want to get back into these history videos. Actually, I need a drink first. Let's go soda right now. Don't think I need a beer right yet. Could save that for dinner. But, of course, I started out my Revolutionary War video, history videos with a timeline. That big timeline. I covered 2 videos. Once I got into it, I did the French and Indian War. I did a video on the Proclamation of 1763, the Sugar Act 1764, the Currency Act 1764, Stamp Act 1765, the Quartering Act 1765, the Declaratory Act 1766, the Townshend Act, the Non-Importation Agreements, the Boston Massacre, the Gaspee Affair, the Tea Act of 1773. See what I get here as far as there's the Non-Importation, Boston Massacre, Gaspee Affair, the Tea Act, the Boston Tea Party. Got my Rand McNally GPS tablet. There was the Boston Port Act. The Intolerable Acts. There was, out of the Intolerable Acts, which this is the overview, but there was the Boston Port Act, the Administration of Justice Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the Quartering Act of 1774, the Quebec Act. Those are all in the Intolerable Acts. I will cover those individually, but I just want to do an overview today on them. Where's my nicotine at? I know I just had it. There it is. But I'm just going to go through and read this. Like I said, I don't have my notebook or anything, so I can't really write anything down. So he was nice enough to print off this, so I got an overview. And this is what were the Intolerable Acts. And this is printed from www.historyisfun.org. He just printed it from his computer there at the check-in desk. I just told him print off anything that's not too many pages. I told him the only thing is Do not print off anything from Wikipedia or CNN. I did not want anything from them. But this is from History is Fun, and it seems like a pretty decent site. I've gotten some other information from them. So, let's get on the overview of the Intolerable Acts. The Intolerable Acts consisted of a number of measures meant to punish. Let's see if I can get this down a little bit more. Okay. The Intolerable Acts consisted of a number of measures meant to punish the port of Boston and the people of Massachusetts for the Boston Tea Party. Parliament, now under the leadership of Lord North, passed the first of three measures: the Boston Port Act in March of 1774. This act provided that the port of Boston would be closed until the East India Company received compensation for the loss of the tea, and the royal government received payment for the lost income it would have received on the customs duty. The second of these laws was known as the Administration of Justice Act of 1774. This act allowed a change of venue to another British colony or to Great Britain for trials of official charges with a crime growing out of their enforcement of the law or suppression of riots. The third of the Intolerable Acts, the Massachusetts Government Act, abolished the properly elected upper council of the colony and replaced them with a 12 to 36 member council appointed by the king. The act also gave the Massachusetts royal governor broad powers to remove various judges, marshals, and justices of the peace. The fourth of the Intolerable Acts was the Quartering Act. This law was passed on June 2nd, 1774, which, if you remember, there was a Quartering Act in 1765, 9 years earlier. This one's going to be a little bit different. Like the previous Quartering Act, the new law allowed a colonial governor to house British soldiers in unoccupied houses and barns. Another measure, the Quebec Act, passed by Parliament during this period, also troubled the American colonies. Though it was not intended by the British government to punish the people of Massachusetts for the Boston Tea Party, many colonists consider the act as one of the Intolerable Acts. Abigail Adams, which was the wife of John Adams, wrote a letter to a friend in February 1775, and in that it said, "The die is cast. It seems to me the sword is now our only, yet dreadful, alternative." We could be coming to that again. This last one was passed June 1774. The act extended the jurisdiction of Quebec into the area north of the Ohio River. The act also restored some of the rights previously employed by the French-speaking residents of Quebec and provided that the area would be governed by a royal governor and appointed council. The act wiped out the claims of Virginia and several other colonies to the area west of the Appalachian Mountains. The act appeared to favor the French-speaking residents of Quebec over the colonists of the older British colonies. Mass protests in the colonies greeted the news of the Intolerable Acts. In May 1774, the Virginia House of Burgesses reconvened at Raleigh Tavern. In July 1774, George Washington, now a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses, and his neighbor George Mason drafted the Fairfax Resolves. These resolves detailed many of the complaints against British rule, called for non-importation of British goods, demanded an end to the slave trade, and urged the calling of a General Congress to draft a petition to the King. George Washington carried the Fairfax Resolve to the Virginia House of Burgesses, which took up the matter on August 1st, 1774, as the First Virginia Convention. The revolutionary body which governed Virginia until 1776. Across the 13 colonies, local groups were adopting similar resolutions to protest the Intolerable Acts. In Massachusetts, the Suffolk Resolves would mirror the spirit of the Fairfax Resolve, while the Orangetown Resolution captured the anger of the colonists in the colony of New York. King George III to Lord North. The die is now cast. The colonies must either submit or triumph. The British goal of isolation. Ooh. Isolation. Wow. Wow. What? Is it just chance I decided to do this video today with what's going on? Let's go over that again. The British goal of isolation and making an example of the people of Boston and Massachusetts colony using the Intolerable Acts completely failed. Instead of isolating Massachusetts from other colonies, it united the colonies against the common enemy. The closing of the port of Boston indiscriminately punished the innocent. As well as the guilty, and drove many unaligned neutrals into the ranks of the patriots. The number of loyalists, people who supported the British government, declined dramatically. People residing outside Massachusetts realized that they could be punished as harshly as the people of Massachusetts if they offended Parliament. In addition to formal protest, a number of colonies sent aid to the isolated people of Boston. The Intolerable Acts compelled a number of patriot leaders, committees of correspondence, the colonial legislatures to endorse the call for a General Congress of the 13 colonies to discuss how to resolve the newest crisis. The Congress, known as the First Continental Congress, which we'll cover later on, met briefly in Philadelphia from September 5th to October 26, 1774, to consider ways of readdressing colonial grievances. Peyton Randolph, the former Speaker of the Virginia House of Burgesses, chaired the First Continental Congress. Delegates to this convention included George Washington, Patrick Henry of Virginia, and John Adams, and Samuel Adams of Massachusetts. The Congress created the Continental Association, a system for implementing a trade boycott of British goods. The delegates agreed the colonies would cease importation of British goods on December 1st, 1774, but delayed the ban on exporting goods to Britain until September 1775. The Congress also agreed to a broad Declaration of Rights, which strongly stated that the American colonies had the right to tax themselves. Before adjourning, the Congress also agreed to reconvene in May 1775 to decide if further action was necessary. This is just an overview on the Intolerable Acts. Like I said, when I get home, we will go back and let's see if I can find them here again. That's the second one. The Boston Port Act, we'll cover that in a video. The Administration of Justice Act. Why don't I just go up here? The Boston Port Act will be a video. The Administration of Justice Act will be a video. The Massachusetts Government Act. The Quartering Act of 1774, which will be different than the Quartering Act of 1765. The Quebec Act. Like I said, I really want to get back into these videos. Hope this kind of gives an overview. I hope what I covered here, what I already did, I've got those in a playlist, listed history videos. If you're interested, you can go watch those. I've noticed it seems the oldest one's on bottom, or the newest one's on bottom, the oldest one's on top. So you can actually start with the first one and go down, and should be pretty much in order. So we appreciate you watching, and stay tuned. There'll be more to come. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, hit that bell. We appreciate you watching. We'll catch you on the next video.